Don't forget to like and subscribe.
Hello there. All right, I watched the movie Taare Zameen Par. Taare Zameen Par. I don't know, but it's basically this movie has Amir Khan, and he basically plays a mentor to a dyslexic kid, and that's actually rather misleading. I love the fact that India seems to tackle these types of situations with sick children, mental illness, things like that, because I suffer from dyslexia. Dyslexia is very common, and dyslexia is always misinterpreted because everything that I had many illnesses growing up, I mean, just way too many. But the dyslexia was kind of fell through the cracks. It wasn't diagnosed till way later in my life. Because I just had so many problems going on, it made sense that I was acting out in different ways. But this movie really did hit close to home for me, because it's just like, I was getting, because I've blacked out most of my childhood, but I was getting memories and being reminded of things that happened in my childhood. I remember now that my grandfather tried teaching me how to read, and I was like in the 3rd grade at this time. I was 11, 12? Yeah, and he was trying to teach me how to read because I didn't really know how to read properly. I couldn't understand. I couldn't see the letters. It wasn't until I was in high school that I finally got diagnosed with it, because they sent me off to like some special training to see what was wrong with me, and they found out that there's nothing wrong with me, I'm just dyslexic. So this movie really hit close to home for me. This movie has problems though. Amir Khan seemed like he was gonna be like a focal point of this movie. He's right there on the thumbnail. He's right there, and I'm pretty sure he's in the trailer. I'm pretty sure they make him seem like he's a very important person. I hate to say it, but he's not in this movie. He absolutely serves no purpose. Well, he serves a purpose in this movie, but there's not enough purpose for him to be included in the thumbnail, him to get a name on the poster, him to get all this stuff, other than the fact that he's just a famous actor who got added into the movie just for namesake. It was rather aggravating, because here I was thinking, okay, I was going to see Amir Khan being a mentor to a dyslexic kid. And 30 minutes go by, 40 minutes go by, 50 minutes go by, an hour goes by, an hour and 15 minutes go by, and finally Amir Khan shows up. And this is already halfway into the movie. So that really bothered me, because it really misled me to think that he was going to have more of a place in the film. And the first hour was really there just to introduce the fact that the kid was suffering from dyslexia. They were trying to point home that he acts out. They established that in the first 20 minutes, what dyslexia is like. They did that in the credits for me. With the opening credits, they introduced it, because they started with like a word puzzle, and they started with word like was or saw or something like that, because as it typed out, I got confused as it was typing out. I can't remember now if it was or saw. I just know it had a W-A-S, or was it S-A-W, one or the other, because it was being typed out one by one. And I think with it ending on whatever letter, it could have flipped it in my mind. And then it went down, and then it went down, and it kept going and going and going, and I couldn't comprehend any of that. And I'm like, okay, so this is about a dyslexic kid. And then even with the numbers and everything, I absolutely loved the opening. And then it dragged on, and then it dragged on, and then it dragged on, kicking its feet at the fact that it was about a dyslexic kid. And I'm like, I already get that. Get to the point where it's a feel-good story. Don't keep kicking me into the dirt more and more as this kid is being pushed to suicide. You've got to that in the first 20 minutes. Don't give me an hour and 15 minutes of that, because then I'll need 2.5 hours just to get me out of that mood. Because I'm still angry now seeing that kid deal with that for an hour and 15 minutes. And then to recover in an hour and 15 minutes, no, it takes more time. There's a reason why it takes more time to recover, and for the recovery process, than it takes for it. So it's just like, oh my gosh, it just felt off. It felt way off. But when Amir Khan finally showed up, I enjoyed it. I absolutely did love the film. I enjoyed the fact, because it was like, okay, Amir Khan is dyslexic as well. And then he starts bringing up other people who are dyslexic, and it's just like, okay, I love it. Because he could see himself in the kid, and he mentions that, so you know Amir Khan's character is dealing with dyslexia. it's misdiagnosed. It's nobody sees the patterns, and it's just every dyslexic kid needs to learn what works for them, figuring it out, because you can never recover. You can never get away from it. It's just about adapting and figuring out what works for you. I mean, to this day, nobody can really read my handwriting. Nobody. Which is why I don't write. I type or I dictate. One or the other. It makes it easier. But I can't read my own handwriting. So, yeah, it's just... This movie is... I would say it's a feel-good movie. It's one of those motivational movies. It's one of those open your eyes and look around and all kids are special type movie. But it just took way too long to get to that point. It shows the kid who loves art, who loves staring at fish, who loves to capture them, raise them, to give up on art, to give up on everything, to basically have his soul fallen apart. And then Amir Khan shows up just to bring his soul back to him. And it's just like, it dragged on for too long. It's an amazing movie, but it dragged on for too long. If I wasn't going to review it, I would have stopped it halfway through. Or I would have stopped it like quarter of the way through. If I didn't relate to the kid as much as I did, I would have stopped it 15 minutes into the movie. That's just the way it is. It doesn't capture you because it already captures you, but the thing is, it keeps dragging on the same thing. And I could see that it was going to do this for a long period of time after 5 minutes, because it really just dragged on. It's an amazing movie, definitely worth a watch. But just know it's going to be slow. Just know it just really doesn't get to the point in time. Thank you all for watching. Talk to you next time. Toodles!